So this is a build me and my mate and my brother did over a couple of months. It was a budget inspired build. We wanted a newish turbo diesel full drive, reliable, aircon, power steering, all the jazz, not falling apart. Over in the States it might seem easy, but living in Australia things can get pretty expensive because every man and his dog wants a turbo diesel four-wheel drive. The equivalent car can be 30 or 40k, so we were like, no. So we're like, we'll build one. The chassis is a Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Frontier in the States I think they're called. Over here they come with the V6 and also the notoriously unreliable YD25. Those things spit head gaskets and lunch timing chains like there's no tomorrow. I mean, you might find one that's really good, or if you service it meticulously, sure, but in general, they're doomed to fail. So we bought one with a dead head gasket, sold the engine, and I chose a Duramax, Italian-made Duramax engine. They're in the GM Holden Colorados, and I got from the auctions. It only had 70,000 Ks on the clock. Choice of that once again was price. I mean, the equivalent like Hilux or D-Max, Isuzu motor for JJ1 is like 2 or 3 times the price. If you want to spend 2 or 3 times the amount, sure, but we had like around 10k to spend total, so that wasn't an option. So that's why we went this way. The swap was relatively straightforward, as you'll see. This is not a step-by-step guide by any means. I skipped things. It's just a general, this is what we did. Come along. Thanks to the boys for your help. Yep, thanks for your help, and I hope you enjoy what we did. Let's go along. So technically speaking, this is not my car, so we can't count it as a distracted project. Maybe. But this will be interesting for some other people who are not so much into Corollas and skid cars and whatever else. This is a 2018 Holden Colorado diesel. Now, it's a little broken. Doesn't matter because we're not using the shell. This is a non-repairable car, so the shell goes in the bin. I'm going to be using the engine and driveline and electronics into another four-wheel drive. When I mean broken, I mean broken. 2.8 litre, 4-cylinder, double elbow cam. It's a little broken, but that's the only damage. So it's been hit pretty hard, front on, sort of at an angle. It's pushed this far back, like a lot. I've had to peel the radiator back, and there's a big dent from the clutch fan smacking the radiator. The clutch fan is toast. Pulley behind it's really good, which is good, and everything else hasn't been damaged, just the radiator fan shroud. Big dent in the battery, which doesn't matter. You can see the chassis section of the chassis is just like pushed down and back, but I didn't know until I picked it up from the auctions how damaged the engine was, and thankfully it's okay besides the clutch fan, which I may not even use that setup anyway. So yeah, a bit of a Russian roulette when it comes to buying cars from the auctions, because you can't go physically look at them. You just have to hope that the pictures they give you are enough to give you an idea if the thing is usable or not. So I got lucky on this one. So how are we going to do this? Well, as I said, I'm going to use all the electronics from this ECU and some of the dash and stuff, maybe. So I'm going to pull all the dash skin off. Center console's already off, as you can see. So I'm going to pull all the skins off and put all the electronics, plug them all back in like this, just loosely without their frame. And then I'll start and run the car and then slowly pull bits off that I don't need. I do have a wiring book that I bought. It's not for this model exactly, it's for our older model. It'll give me a guide to see where stuff is and how stuff works, but I still have to figure out wiring schemes and how to integrate it into the vehicle that I'm putting it in. So this car is only 3 or 4 years old, so it's got lots of touchscreen stuff that I would love to use, but it's just going to take too long to integrate in. I'm still learning electronics, so we'll see how we go and try and get this dash out without getting glass all over my hands. And that's how you get it out. So much fun. Woo. Everything on. Oh, where's my screen gone? Okay. First issue. No screen. What did I not plug in? Or what did I break also? Ah. Plug. Where is plug? Did I put that in the wrong one? Is that actually meant for that? Probably is. Maybe there are two plugs that are the same. Okay. Oh. There we go. Whether I want to use this or not later on, I don't know. I just wanted to check that just to make sure it was something weird didn't happen when I pulled the dash out. Don't know. Well, I didn't get too angry. I just connected the speed sensors on the wheel hubs, the ABS sensors. I was sure that it wasn't using them for a speed reference, so the speedo moves, and it doesn't. I was just gonna disconnect the whole module. I was just going to disconnect the whole module. This is the ABS unit here. And there's electronics in here and a circuit board and stuff. I disconnected that, thinking I won't need to have this black section in the car, in the conversion, but I think I will, because when I disconnect this, it doesn't let you start the car. So there's a signal that runs through here. I think it does a reference check to make sure it's in the system and lets you start the car. So what I did was left it connected, and I disconnected all the ABS speed sensors, and then the car runs. Don't be too concerned. The car it's going into will have ABS. It's a separate system. So the other car's ABS system I'm not touching whatsoever. So the ABS will work as it should. The module that I showed you will just get tucked up in the engine bay or on the dash somewhere, just for this engine to be happy. Totally separate system, everything will still work, everything will still be safe. So I have since found out that the ABS module that I was going to use, I don't need to plug in. So this is the plug that went to it, and I figured out that it had CAN bus line going in, CAN bus line going out, and when I pulled the plug, it broke the communication on CAN bus. When the ECU sees that, it's like no start, and the mobilizer stays on. So all I did was I looped the two wires from the ECU up to the engine, and now I don't need to plug this in. I will keep it for now, and I'll keep a long pigtail of wires in case I need it for whatever reason later on, but I'm going to take it out for now, pull all the wires out of the loom, test it again. Been pulling modules, testing them, plugging them back in, and getting to the point now where I can almost pull the engine out, but a few more checks and then, yeah, we'll get this thing out and get on to the next stage.
Gut full of diesel.
See, it's still got the actual center module section for a pump. It's just empty.
I don't know how I'm going to get that without spilling half a ton of diesel.
There was like hours and hours of staring at wiring diagrams and thinning back down the wiring and trying to get it all in place. I put in the Colorado fuse panel, the one from the engine bay, the one from the glove box, or under the dash from the Colorado, shortened some of the loom, tucked it all in as much as I could. Custom tower shafts, custom engine mounts as I showed you, gearbox mount, just the usual stuff you do with engine conversions. It's not really anything particularly interesting, especially the wiring. Like, who'd want to see that? I mean, come on, let's just skip to the good stuff. Weirdly enough, the tail shaft, Colorado tail shaft, I'd never seen it before. It must be a common thing. It doesn't use circlips to hold the uni joints in. It uses wax pushed into and around the caps, the uni-joint caps, to hold it in place. And I had to Google how to pull it apart, and you just heat it up and it just oozes out like molten wax. It's really weird. And oddly enough, the Colorado input shaft, the retail shaft on the Colorado, the input shaft with a special uni joint bolts up to the rear half of the Pathfinder tail shaft. I had to get it shortened overall because of where I put the motor, but they kind of bolted together, which was really weird. So all that was done, and then we got started.
So that
The Nissan pedal works with the car.
brilliant.
And yes, weirdly enough, the Nissan pedal, accelerator pedal, when I pulled it out of the car, I compared it to the Colorado pedal, and they were almost identical. Even the part numbers were like 7 digits long, and they're almost the same part number. The plug was even the same, so I thought, I'll just plug the Colorado loom that goes to the Colorado computer. I'll plug that loom into the Nissan accelerator pedal without modifying it. And they talk to each other. I mean, the pedals aren't made specific for Nissan, specific for Colorado. It's made by Bosch or Hitachi, or it's a manufacturer's brand. It's not brand specific, so it's kind of understandable why it might work with other cars. It was just really funny that it did. Obviously, there's like eBay spec intercooler piping, bits and pieces original and bits off eBay, brand new radiator, brand new condenser, a custom AC line, just going from the compressor back to the Nissan. Like I said, it's just boring stuff. And that was pretty much it. Like, it was a relatively straightforward swap, really. Like, a custom power steering line, but it just, nothing really out of the ordinary. Like, nothing had to be custom a lot. Like, the sump fit and didn't have to clear anything on the firewall. Factory, I ended up buying a Colorado clutch fan, and it just worked, and it drives really nicely. So yeah, there might be some updates later on with it, but now it just gets to the point of driving it and hoping it behaves itself. And yeah, my mate gets to drive it for good, so I hope he's happy. And the dash as well.
Oh, look.
It changes gears.
Seatbelt works.
This video here is us driving down the street for the first time. Obviously the interior is not back together. And you'll notice I have the Colorado instrument cluster tucked inside the glove box. The Pathfinder has a double glove box, so I used one of the glove box holes. I just gutted the inside of it out so I could put the cluster in it. I have to, because without the cluster the car won't start. HB Tuners actually has a tune file that you can get rid of the key and immobilizer and everything, but at the moment I haven't got that, so I got the key and everything in the loom, and I have the cluster inside the glove box so the car will run. And there's a lid that closes, you don't even see it. If you want to look at it, you can open the lid and have a look. It's almost like having double gauges. And also,
How's it feel?
like it's stock. There's a bit of a funny whistle to it, but
Yeah, I heard that too. It's a low kilo.
I'm happy he changes gears and stuff.
Yeah. Key lights on that.
We'll get rid of that. I fix.
I know how you're gonna fix that too. Burn that LED.
Yeah.
To the ground.
The actual Nissan cluster, the only thing that doesn't work is the tacho, which it's an automatic car. Who cares? The speedo runs off ABS sensors on the diff. Fuel tank gauge works, and the water temp gauge, I remember I showed you a picture before. I put a Nissan water temp sensor in the Colorado water in the Colorado engine. So, and I've all still got the Pathfinder ECU hooked up. So the Pathfinder still thinks that there's a Nissan engine there, and it's just reading temperature off that. It doesn't know what else is going on. Also had to hack into the Colorado ECU hack, into the wiring, to get a sort of a funny RPM signal that will also go from the Colorado ECU to the Nissan ECU, so that the AC will switch on. If you don't do that, the Nissan thinks that the engine isn't running, and you can't turn the AC on, because I've got the Nissan AC running the Colorado compressor. It's the only way I could do it. But other than that, it's good.
Maybe we should try the
Tiptronic? Oh, no, that.
no, the high and lows.
Gotta get neutral. Change? Nope. Oh,
Oh, I heard a switch.
that's like low.
Yeah. Try the next one. Oh, that's meant to be 4 low
Yeah.
and 4 high.
That's your tail shafts.
Yeah, gotta tighten those up. They're tight enough for that, but we'll go boosting up the road. Well,
Like your double dashes?
yeah, hey, can you park the car straight?
No.
Damn it, Seth. It's been messing with my OCD for months.
That's it.